I've been very blessed to be in Dubai for 11 years now. And I came here for career to make something of my life. I felt as big as Australia is as a continent, it just felt so small to me in terms of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to create for the world. What is my purpose in life? I mean, we all know one reality in life is that we're all going to die, right? But when you're faced with something in that moment, you're like, oh, what have I done for myself, for the world, if I die? So I quit my job.
Okay.
And then I went on a path to heal myself. No one can heal you but yourself. When you give power back to the people that are doing the work, and when it's about them, you flip so many things upside down. I'm a believer that you can do multiple things at the same time.
I can understand from a surface level what you're going through, but I think until someone's actually gone through that, can you really, truly connect in that space? And so... Hey guys, we're here on another Helply podcast where we're talking about mental health and the different strategies that people use to tackle different things. Today we have Rosa Aygun, the founder of the tech platform Anka, kind of connects that tech and spiritual and wellness space, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll get into it all, but thanks for joining us, Rosa.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm great, thanks. And it's so good to see, especially in the local culture, what Helply is doing to help people with mental health. And I'm here to support in any way with Anka and share our stories and our learnings on today's podcast.
Awesome. Well, let's give the viewers kind of a background and just understand like who you are. Tell me about your journey and how Anka even came to be.
Oh God, where to begin? That's the question, where to begin? A little bit of background. I'm from Australia, born and raised in Melbourne. My mum and heritage is from Turkey, from Izmir. So I have the Turkish richness when it comes to food, but the Aussie chill
Great food
sports.
There.
I've been very blessed to be in Dubai for 11 years now. And I came here for career to make something of my life, pretty much. I felt as big as Australia is as a continent, it just felt so small to me in terms of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to create for the world. And I'll keep it very short, but like I was working for Altair Group. I was heading the merchandise planning for retail, for beauty division. I launched Unas. I launched all the beauty products for Unas. I was in charge of Bloomingdale's, Harvey Nichols, all the freestanding stores, retail part of the merchandise planning. And you know, like when you've worked so hard your entire life, and you know, I had the Jaguar company car, uniform allowance. My brands were Chanel, Dior, Estee Lauder Group, all the big ones. Invited to their launch parties, getting the first pre-launch, because we need to decide what buys. I was in charge of the OTB. Everything was just like I worked my way up to the top, but there was something missing. I never really understood at that time. My mum was like, why are you not happy? You know, you have money, you have this, you know, buying Chanel bags and, you know, the materialistic things we think make us happy. I had all of that. And it was still this emptiness within me. And I couldn't really hear those voices, like, you know, because I didn't know what it meant. And for me, I was a workaholic and I suffered insomnia. I felt that stopping meant I'm wasting time and I felt anxious. And the only thing I would do would go and ride a horse. That was like my way of disconnecting.
Interesting.
And, you know, when you're riding a horse, an animal has a heart, has a mind of its own. You cannot be thinking about what email to send because that horse can spook at any moment, or it can go left, or it can go right, or there's camels, and it can, you know, so it just really they really bring you to the present moment. And at that time, I didn't really fully understand the energetic magnificence they have on us on the scientific way, but I just felt good being around them since I was a kid. In fact, like when I was younger, my parents would think I was crazy because I would speak to them, and even wild horses would come to me, and like my parents would get worried they would do something to me. But like I've always had this profound connection with animals, with birds, with horses. And literally there was one horse that I would ride all the time, every weekend, and he would touch me in a certain way. He would touch my stomach and the left side, and his eyes would almost glisten. It was like, and I was like, oh my God, so cute. Like, and the groom would say, oh, madame, he only does that with you. Which I was like, oh, I'm so special, us humans.
Yeah.
And it was actually 3 months later, I was diagnosed with a tumor in that exact spot.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was my turning point in life. Like I've had many turning points, but that was the moment where like the doctors at the time, my mom had a hysterectomy, my grandma passed away from cancer, my auntie passed away from cancer, my second cousin was battling ovarian cancer at that same time, whom we lost to the battle. So you can imagine in that moment when you hear this, and I believe it was like 4 centimeters at the time. So the doctor said, oh, it looks a bit aggressive. And of course, they always start you off in the worst case, right? So I was starting to think like, what is my purpose in life? I mean, we all know one reality in life is that we're all going to die, right? But when you're faced with something in that moment, you're like, oh, what have I done for myself, for the world, if I die next month, next year?
Start thinking about legacy. What's my impact? What am I leaving behind? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then you enter a very, very, very dark space. You don't want to tell your friends. You don't want to tell your family. You don't want people to feel sorry for you. You don't want people to feel sad or worry about you.
Yeah. You don't want to be a burden to anybody else. So you try to hide that and you hold it in.
And like for me, especially, like I love to be the light for my friends, for my family. And I just didn't know how to handle it at that time. And the doctors in Dubai, I got multiple different advice. But then I flew to Turkey because my cousin recommended a really, really great doctor there who has more, she's a doctor, medical, but she has a more holistic approach. And it was her who said to me, like, you must live a very stressful life. And I said, no, I don't. Like, I thrive on the go. And then she said, that's the mind. Do you meditate? And I said, no, I'm very analytical. Like, I'm head of planning, like financial planning for retail, like, buying and planning.
Strategic. Everything's planned months in advance.
When's the stock holding, the stock health, the,
SKU numbers, everything.
All of that. OTB. I was like, no, I can't meditate. And then she said, but that's why you need to. And I was just like, really, like, she said, have you ever spoken to your organs? A doctor told me this.
Yeah, that sounds a bit, just objectively, that sounds a little strange to me, all right?
Like,
speaking to your organs, all right.
I looked at her and I was like, what do you mean?
Okay.
Like, and she said it in Turkish, like, organlarınla hiç konuşuyor musun? Vücudunla hiç konuşuyor musun? Which means like, do you speak to your body? Do you speak to your organs? And then I was like, no.
Okay.
What? How? What do you mean?
Are you joking with me right now?
I actually was laughing. And then she said to me, like, look, obviously, like, let's do a biopsy. Before we start, like, the worst case scenario, let's do a biopsy. And in parallel, I believe we should do a lifestyle change. I was on the contraceptive pills for over 10 years because I had a very bad menstrual period and pain and irregular, and so I was on the pill for over 10 years. So she was like, let's get you off that. Maybe it's a cyst, maybe it's a side effect. Sugar, salt, alcohol, anything that is processed, like she was just like, let's exercise, movement, what have you got to lose? What happens if you remove yourself from your current environment that is currently making you feel this way? And then she said, what are the things that you enjoy? She's like, and brings peace to you, like, or, makes your little child come alive. And that was horses for me. I said, horses. And then she said, well, horses are the most intuitive beings. And they are the best healers, just being around them. And I was like, oh my God, this horse. She was like, yeah, he was trying to tell you. It's just us humans are the ones that wear the blindfolds.
Yeah.
You know?
We have
And
the tunnel vision. We don't want to be open to those kind of things, or that kind of conception of saying, hey, look, something else as an animal where we see ourselves superior almost because we have opposable thumbs and brains, and they would know and have this sense more than something else.
yeah, exactly. And that's when I was like, oh my God, how did this horse know?
Yeah.
And what can I do to improve my understanding of horses and the communication, so then we can create a more harmonious way of healing with them, with their guidance for humans, for people. And shortly after, like, she was like, what's the worst that can happen if you quit your job? At that moment, I was like, nothing. Like, I'm going to die 1 year later. Why am I working?
Yeah,
Like,
true.
you know, like, why? Like,
those life scares always put things in perspective. You're like, why am I doing all this? What is important to me? And you get to get those priorities put in place.
so I quit my job.
Okay.
And then I went on a path to heal myself. And I never believed in, like, you know, I come from a Turkish Sunni Muslim family, and my mom wears a hijab. She prays 5 times a day. She's like, no, that's haram. This is haram. Why are you doing yoga? You should pray to God. Like, you know, I had a mom that, bless her soul, she's an angel. So for me, it was like anything esoteric was like, oh no, that's haram.
Yeah.
You know, that was my belief system you know, growing up, like Reiki or sound therapy, like Tibetan sound bowls, like they heal you. It's like, how? Like, you know, but part of me, I always had this level of curiosity. If your intention is pure, right, and you have faith that everything is happening for a reason, I'm also willing to try. And at that moment, I was desperate to seek answers. And, you know, yes, there's, you know, praying to God is one thing, but it's like you want to try everything and anything at that moment, you know, whether it's a health coach, whether it's a PT, whether it's a diet program, whether it's Reiki, whether it's this, because everything's energy.
Yeah.
So, like, I went on the path of doing everything and anything, like theta healing, sound healing, plant medicines, you name it. I tell everyone I turned into a healing whore, literally.
I'm willing to try anything and everything.
And in that moment is when I discovered that no one can heal you but yourself, right? And only God knows your true path. But we have decisions, we have free will, right? So it's like, who holds your hand on the journey? Who guides you in kindness back to yourself? Back to your heart. And that was what I discovered, was the people who really do this from the hearts, the coaches, the therapists, the gurus, the matawas, whoever they are, they don't really necessarily do it for fame. They don't do it for money. Yet most of them have a lot of families to feed. They have responsibilities. And the number one thing is they want to help more people and reach more people. So it was actually out of a retreat I did. I was in a 1-week retreat in Bali, a spiritual awakening retreat that my best friend and co-founder bought for my birthday. And it was there that I had the first, I like this moment of like, I felt my body leave, my soul in my body, and I was energy, and I went into darkness, and I was afraid of darkness. I was afraid of death, dying and not living my soul's purpose, not leaving a legacy for the world. And in that moment, there was this friction of me leaving my body, like, oh no, you're dying. But then there was this level of, no, like, remove the fear. We're all gonna die, and it's okay. And then my mom will be okay, my cats will be okay, everything will work out. You know, just trust and surrender. And then all of a sudden, I just felt like I was floating in space. And that was the first time I felt like samadhi, like a feeling of God's love, like hugging me energetically, unconditional love everywhere.
Is that what samadhi is? I used that word, I wasn't sure.
It was like, it's like the ultimate feeling of bliss, enlightenment, and like nothingness. Like you're literally floating into this space of nothingness, and there is nothing but absolute bliss and love, and to a point where I didn't want to come back. I was like, whoa.
I love that.
Guys, if this is what death feels like,
yeah,
I'm here.
I'm ready to move on now.
I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. And it was through this that what happened was, it was almost like, I remember there's a religious day that just passed us, which is Miraç Kandili, we call in Turkish, which was the ascension of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how a horse-like creature named Burak took him to the heavens and to God's presence. And that's where he negotiated prayer down to 5 times a day in God's presence. But I remembered when I was there, I had this, like my mom and my teachers would say to me, that black curtain when Prophet Muhammad went up to his presence, and I was like, oh my God, was this what they were explaining? Right? Was this the feeling of unconditional love? And then, you know, in my whole life, I was always told that I was very naive. Like, oh, how can you forgive so quickly? How are you so gullible? Like, why are you constantly helping people when you're getting burnt? Do you not learn? And, you know, you're still... But my philosophy has always been like, if 10 people have like really cheated or them stole money or whatever, fooled me, and that 11th person comes and they say, oh, my daughter has cancer and I need money for treatment. And I say to myself, no, those 10 people like fooled me. I'm not going to get fooled again. And then I find out that lady's daughter passed away. That guilt will kill me more than knowing that energetically my heart felt like giving, and I didn't do it out of return for that. I did it for God. I did it because it felt good to do it in that moment. And to me, that's energetic karma. I'm doing because it feels right, and I believe that it comes in other ways. But if I'm not giving and then that happens, I'm going to feel guilty. So for me, I always like to avoid these situations. When I was up there, I had like, it was almost like a tape record of my life and all the things that I went through and all the suffering. And it was almost like, of course, I would never want, you know, my children, or like we say, kularım, like, you know, who are created, I would never want to see anyone suffer, but it's all part of the journey. Like, you know, you need, how can you be a great leader if you cannot have empathy and compassion for people that you want to help, right? And it doesn't just happen of, I've got money and here's the money. What do you even know? How do you even know what they really, really need? And then I saw like moments of like, you know, Jesus being crucified, and how even in a moment of pain, he was able to forgive the person that was putting the nails in his hand. And that is ultimate power. Ultimate power is being able to forgive someone, even if they are making you pain, because you're seeing that everybody's born pure, right? Look at a baby. Is there any evil baby?
No.
Right? And then that's when it was just like all of these things. And then I saw the phoenix. I literally saw a geometric formation of the Anka logo. And it was like, I had no idea what it meant then. I had no idea what the Aquarius era was, and where the world was going to. And literally it was like the world's going to come to a shutdown. Technology has isolated us, but using technology and AI to bring us together, to bring the consciousness of the earth and to raise the vibration. And now you had to go through all of this to understand all of the feelings to fulfill your soul's purpose.
I think it's one of those things, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so glad you brought us on that journey to understand where you came from. And we'll get into the Anka after this, but it just, when people hear it from the outside, and like someone like myself, like I have a very scientific background, and you know, everything was super analytical.
Me, I do too.
Yeah, exactly. So when you, from an outsider who hasn't done something like that, you hear about it and you're like, okay, well, like, this seems a bit foo-foo or woo-woo or whatever it may be, right? So to hear your personal journey, to see like, hey, look, this is how you were and this is how your life experience to bring you to this space, and understand like, hey, look, this is why this is important. Maybe people aren't highlighting it. It's not mainstream. It's not this. It's not that. But there is so much value, and it can help people and actually provide value and healing to people. I think it's an amazing thing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, like I thought I was absolutely going crazy and losing my mind. And you need to be so courageous and have so much faith in God and in yourself. It's not easy because everyone around you, they already know, some people know you're ill. So they start to think, oh, and then they start to label you, and then all of these things happen. But then like something just happened. I was like, I'm just a vessel. I'm a vessel, and I know that this body was given as rental and for this lifetime, which is in the blink of an eye. So it's like, how do I take care of it the best way I can? How do I thank my hands for everything, every little thing it does, from picking up the water bottle to feeding me, to my feet for carrying this body, and to my heart for beating for me every single day, no matter the hurt, no matter the heartbreak. It's my best friend. It has never given up on me.
I think it's such a beautiful thing too, in that space, to be able to be that almost like self-aware but connected with yourself, to truly appreciate that and understand that, you know, something with, you're in this space where it's like, that's from within, right? You're really understanding within. And like you said, everyone sees this like AI component and technology as the opposite, where you're getting disconnected and disjointed from everything, but you're so removed. But you found a way to say, hey, how do we use it to our advantage to be able to connect more, to be able to connect these places? So tell us a little more about that. Like, tell us about Anka and what you're aimed to do with the technology and the application, and like, what's the goal?
Wow. So like, I was very blessed that my dear brother, soul brother Hassan, really believed in everything that I was going through. And he's quite spiritual himself, and he looks after his body in a way that he's vegan, and he studied cryptography, and he's an AI expert for the UAE. And he was like, okay, like, yes, how do we bridge this? How do we? And the idea was obviously a marketplace app. We all know how difficult marketplaces are.
Definitely.
And we decided to go like the native way. Like, we could have done React and Flutter, but we were like, let's build something proper so we can scale. And, you know, the initial idea was, what do I want? Like, shortly after my journey, I did a diploma in equine therapy, and I started also helping children and people with determination with the horses and understanding them.
Guys, you need to check out her IG. She has some beautiful videos out there. It's some amazing stuff with Phoenix and everybody. It's beautiful.
I'm telling you guys, all my friends around me know that manifestation is possible just being around me. And Phoenix was one of them. I know it's off topic a little bit, but he was just incredible manifestation. And I'll be sharing more about that. But when it comes to the app, it was more about like, how do we bridge something that's easy? So like, you know, if you look at ClassPass, ClassPass is doing phenomenal for your studios, your gyms, yoga and dance. And however, Airbnb is doing really good at connecting people directly for the experience of staying somewhere unique. Uber is connecting people that are traveling from around the world. You can find a taxi. In the past, taxis smelled really bad, and the drivers were very rude because they were on very low salaries. However, Uber did really well. Was like, it's your car, it's your name, it's your ratings. So when it's your car, you're going to take care of it. You know, when you've got a rating, you're going to be nice to people. So when you give power back to the people that are doing the work, and when it's about them, you flip so many things upside down. And we were like, the people in the wellness industry, and even in beauty, when I was working in beauty, the ones who do the work get paid the least.
Because they're focused on helping people versus how do I monetize? How do I...
And and they feel guilt. Oh no, I'm helping you, I can't ask for money. How do we empower them and give them a platform that's easy payment, easy booking, calendar, cancellation policies?
One-stop shop.
We market them, we give them platform to shine, we give them communities to connect, and they just do what they're good at, and that's it. And how do we do that? So we went and we started doing the architecture, and we first came with like a study group of like me. I'm on Instagram, but I'm hopeless. Like, I cannot, like, posting, even being on podcasts. Like, when you're creating a startup, I'm a believer that you can do multiple things at the same time, right? However, when you're creating a tech company, or when you're creating something and your business model is not a podcast or a brand that's linked to social media or etc., your full time is like working with developers, working with a team, working with so many different moving parts, accounting, legal, like, just, you don't have time for that, right? So for me, it was like, as a equine therapist and a horse guide empowerment practitioner, what is it I want? And then I sat with some people in what is it you would want? And we started the user journey based on the feedback. So as a seeker looking for these services, how do you want to look for them? What is important for you?
Yeah, definitely.
So this is how the back-end research, we did some surveys and we started working. Obviously, the first app we did, even though we did all of this work and they tried to trick us with a white label, and we were like, this is not the architecture and the UI UX we wanted. Like, what is this? But we at least had Hassan to know that they were trying to give us a white label. And then again, the second version, it was a complete flop.
Well, now I think you guys have the app and it looks beautiful, and I think you're connecting so many people and getting those services out there.
Yeah.
Just for viewers out there, what are the services they can find on the app?
Anything holistic wellness, in the sense that, you can find Pilates instructors there, you can find Reiki healers, you can find oracle card readings, you can do human design, gene keys, equine therapy, animal communication. But what we do is like even life coaching, business coaching. It's not necessarily linked to things, but the one thing that is crucial for us is the vetting and verification. Not everybody can be on the platform. And we call our healers, coaches, gurus, shamans, even. We call them Ankites. And for us, it's so important to know their why and what they went through in their life and why they want to help others, right? Because you already have Mind Valley and all of these different platforms for people that are well established, are really good at marketing themselves, are really good at PRing themselves, creating digital courses. For us, it's about connecting you to somebody who was a cancer survivor.
That can relate, yeah.
Like Rami Nus, like dear friend of mine, and he now has Let's Live concept where, mental health, and he does these marathons and standing on nails for hours, and he talks about mind over matter, and and that's what helped him beat leukemia, right? So when somebody is diagnosed with cancer, God forbid, but and it can be a family friend or even a sibling or something, and they're going to want to not make you feel bad, probably, right? And even though you want to help them, they're probably going to want someone who can relate to what they're actually going through.
And I think that's the crucial part, right? This aspect of like connecting with somebody who's gone through that same experience.
Yes.
I know even with the Helply app as well, that's the whole crux of it. Connecting with someone who understands your culture, your background, where you've come from, because I think that's where it's the most impactful, because you can get deep in that space. Whereas, I can understand it from a surface level. You've went through it. Like even something like I've, knock on wood, I haven't been diagnosed with anything or like have any true scares with cancer or anything like that. So I can understand from a surface level what you're going through, but I think until someone's actually gone through that, can you really truly connect in that space? And so I think that's very, very powerful. That's a beautiful thing of what Anka's doing in that space as well. I know you guys were at Mind Valley and you were like the heart of it. I visited and I saw everyone was lining around the corners like, I want this, I want this, I want this, like stepping out of sessions to just get a booking with you guys to be able to, it was powerful what I saw out there.
It was, I feel that, you mean in the startup's journey, I always say that it's a bit like Bitcoin.
Okay. Ready to make my millions? Or?
So there's the ups and there's the downs and there's the downs and then there's the ups, but it's relatively going up, And it takes a lot of perseverance and patience and, grit, literally grit. And I feel like being an entrepreneur is so over, it's just glorified, but it takes certain level of mind, body, soul to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely.
And resilience, the amount of resilience. And I feel like Mind Valley was that moment where I went to the corner a few times and I started crying. It was like Mind Valley was really like that epiphany for us. We made it moment.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm getting teary just thinking about it.
I saw you were on a mission. You weren't letting anything get in your way. No. You were like, hey, look, I'm going to make this a success in any way possible. And I think, from an outsider's perspective, it paid off. So
and you don't understand, like we had a booth, beautiful Anka booth, and literally when the opportunity came, it was, I believe they had like a last minute cancellation and somebody referred us, and it just kind of just happened within 1 week. And then we had the booth and we were all good. The booth, in 28 hours, the booth did not fit into the expo center. And then they were like, oh, we can just give you a standard 2x2. And I was like, for the life of me, never. Like I will never 2x2, me, Anka, no way. I was like, I cannot do this. So like the team, we went to the camp. Like luckily I have horse and I understand the camel market and all that. We went and got like bamboos and IKEA and then Dragoma and
love it.
Everything you saw was literally hands-on, done by the team.
And it felt so natural, like it was created, and it was like you said, it wasn't a physical booth that you would see in a normal expo. So I'm sure you guys do, and I know you're going to replicate this at all these other events. So I encourage everyone, like when they're going to these, check out the Anka app as well. It's amazing.
It was amazing. Like, so on the day, what we had was like, we had 5 girls that were offering different services, like oracle card reading, energy readings, Akashic records, and we had biometric health scans and human design. And we had 15-minute slots open on the app for each girl with 5-minute buffer. Nice. And then we even had slots where they would take breaks to see some of the speakers they wanted to see. And I swear to you, like we had 500 downloads. We had 300 bookings. And literally like the last day I had to bring 2 more girls because all 3 days of all the girls were fully booked, the sessions. So we had to bring more girls in, create more space. And that was like, and you need to understand, like a few weeks before that, like a few months before that, we were supposed to get an investment that didn't come through. And partially because I felt last minute it was not aligned. Because for me, money is energy, and what we're building is such a beautiful and high purpose, like that it just didn't feel aligned. But I put everybody at risk, the entire team. I kid you not, we had like 5,000 dirhams in our bank account, in our company bank account.
Okay.
The week of Mind Valley.
Wow.
And then literally I had a solar line investment come through. We made over 30K in that just weekend, and it was just like abundance flowing in. And like after that, it's just like all these different opportunities, different investments that are so soul aligned coming through.
I think that's one of those things where you like push yourself in that space, and you like your hard work pays off and you see the benefits come in, but you have to be able to have that perseverance. So
And it was like the team to see that as well. I feel like it's very important for the team to always have faith in you. Like when you're so resilient, when you don't stop, like even though they may be demotivated when they see this, and then they're like, whoa, actually, they start to trust you as a leader more. And I feel like that's so important, because like if you don't give up and you keep pushing through, even through the drenches and all that, then they say, okay, like I want to also support, because it's like you're doing it together. Our motto is we fly together, we rise together.
Yeah. I love that. It's I mean, you lead, and I can tell this, you lead through experience. So you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to be rolling up my sleeves and doing this. And when people see that, they follow till. So I
didn't sleep for 3 days. Like the whole team saw that.
We don't recommend that. Sleep is crucial.
No, it is definitely. But like, you know, like it's just these, like for me, it was such a high. Like, you know, like I didn't even feel, that's what I say, like sleep, yes, of course it's important, but I'm the first person to say that. But when you are doing something that it fills you up so much and you're so passionate about it, it's like you have unlimited energy.
Exactly. Sleep means nothing. Food doesn't have the same taste. You're like so focused on what you got to do. It's amazing.
And it's when it's from the heart, it just radiates, you know, and that's the thing. Like every customer, we had the Ankites who were the service providers, they were crying. They're like, thanks to Anka, we can be at Mind Valley.
Amazing.
You know, thanks to Anka, we can be at the gala, or thanks to Anka, I had 50 people and I was able to do what I was born to do in this world, right? And then customers were saying like, you know, I came to this conference and that 15-minute session literally broke, like it was what my heart needed. Like, you know, a lot of people, as they were saying, oh, you were the heart in Mind Valley. So it was just so beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mind Valley, and you guys are the heart. It's a brain, that whole body experience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. If someone is curious about the Anka app, maybe they haven't done spirituality, what question should they ask themselves that would say, hey, look, maybe I should download the app and try it?
I feel that if you are going, you need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where do you want to meet yourself in the next? I always have a rule of thumb. I have 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. Right? So every time I'm faced with something, like if you're feeling lonely, you feel like starting a family, if you are wanting to change your job, or any sort of transformation and your gut, or you sometimes feel stuck, ask yourself, can I see myself in the same space 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks?
I love that.
And if the answer is, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. You lost somebody you love, like my grandfather. I love my grandfather. And I asked myself, I'm going to allow myself to mourn. We need to allow ourselves to feel everything, right? Not so it doesn't get stuck and stagnant. I'm also a breathwork coach, so everything gets stuck. So the question I asked myself when my grandfather passed away is, I can't bring him back. You know, he was suffering. I'm happy he's gone, but I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to cry. How long? 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. And I allowed myself 3 months, because I said to myself 3 years later, see myself being grateful that I was able to have a grandfather for so long. And I'm going to be used to it because time heals 3 years later. So 3 months, I was allowing myself to have moments. 3 weeks, I was really thinking, but I said 3 months later, I'm going to start being happy for him.
Amazing.
And gave myself this rule. So my question to everybody is, really, where do you want to see yourself in the threes?
I
right?
love that. Yeah.
And then what kind of guidance and help do you feel you need on that journey to get there? And then if you're on the Anka app, you will be able to find coaches for your spiritual, your body, mind, or soul. So, you know, another example I would love to give is, like, for instance, the vetting process. Like, if you are obese and you've had body shaming most of your life, and you're like, no, the next 3 years, I want to be healthier. I want to be a better version of myself, right? Again, on Anka, we have PTs that went through that journey. You're not going to want to connect with a PT that's looked like a supermodel her whole life. She's not going to understand emotionally, mentally what you've gone through.
Yeah.
So you can come on the platform, and once you've been like, okay, I'm going to find this, and we can help with that. And soon we have been working on the back end to build the AI database. So when you do come on to Anka in the next versions and you say, this is what I've gone through, and then they'll be like, oh, let me recommend to you, Sarah or Zakia, the names of the people that have gone through the journey.
Yeah.
And then you can have a free 15-minute call with them, and then you can start your session, your journey. So it's just, you're not alone.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an amazing thing, and I think it's a great way to leave our viewers and everything like that to understand, like, what to be looking for and asking themselves. So thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.